the therapist that I had, we almost got into a fist fight. I almost had security called on me.
Okay. All right. My friend Rachel, my new friend Rachel, we just met like, what, 2 weeks ago? Something like that?
Yeah.
Online.
Yeah.
Makes it sound like it's dating. No, we met because I'm a master connector.
You are.
No, I just DM a lot of people, and you were cool. We started chatting. We jumped on like a business meeting essentially, and now here we are, friends across the continent.
It's amazing.
Yeah, but it's I'm so happy to have you here today. Excited to hear more about your story and your background, and have you share a bit. So, for everyone listening, this is Rachel Veronica, based in Las Vegas, Nevada. I know you're a hypnotherapist among many other things. So I will let you tell your own story and kind of your background, and then we'll get into some fun stuff. So yeah, take as much time as you want just to maybe share where you've been. I know you served in the military. You're in the medical field now, alternative medicine if you want to call it that. And I know you have a cool story. You're a cool person. So excited to dive in.
Thank you for that introduction. That was awesome.
Yeah, of course.
I'm Rachel Veronica. I have been through hell and back in my life, and now I am here to just help other people grow. I was in the military, got deployed to Afghanistan, came home, wanted to see what freedom was like, and then I came to Las Vegas, and that freedom was wild. I made some bad decisions, like we all have in life, but I've redeemed myself since then. So that's what the good part of my story is, the redemption, right? I got into the cannabis industry out here, so I worked in management for a while. And then I quit my job in 2020, and I was like, what am I going to do now? I have no purpose in life. So I made some more bad decisions, started hanging out with people that like to party. They were out all the time. And my life kind of just went downhill from there. And I was in this nightlife scene and craziness, chaos, freedom to do whatever you want, drugs, alcohol, the whole nine. And, when you live that life 6 to 7 days a week, it becomes like, this isn't reality. Like, this isn't real life. People come to Las Vegas to escape their reality, but I was living that every single day. And it takes a toll on you, Like, I started hating myself. I started very questioning, like, why I'm even here, So I think going down that hill and hitting part of my rock bottom was like the awakening that I needed to become the person that I am today. And I'm thankful for all of it. I'm thankful for the accountability I've taken over my life. I'm thankful for every person that has ever hurt me. I'm thankful for my dysfunctional childhood, alcoholic father. I'm thankful for all of these things because they made me into a very tough, strong woman. And I had to learn how to survive. So I've survived on my own for a pretty good amount of my life. And, having that hard exterior as a woman is not always wanted. Nobody wants a tough female. But I had to become that because I didn't have protectors. I didn't have safe people I could go to if I had a problem. So becoming that safe person for myself has been everything. When I became a clinical hypnotherapist in 2020, I was still in my addictions. I was in my addictions for 2017 to like 2022 is when I stopped and started really taking my life seriously and what I wanted to do with my life seriously. So over the past 2.5 years, I have been sober. I had to get rid of everybody in my life and kind of start over and have better people in my life that were on the same wavelength as me, that think the same as me, because I'm different. I'm not like everybody else. I've never felt like I belonged in this world because I've been so different. My soul is deep. I'm not here for surface level anything. And, not a lot of people are like that. A lot of people like to live on the surface. I can't. My brain works way too fast for that. So really becoming this hypnotherapist to help high functioning creatives break free from self-sabotage and survival mode. This is my passion. This is what God put me on earth to do, is to help people wake up their consciousness, because mine was asleep for a long time. I didn't like who I was. I hated waking up every day. I'm excited to wake up every day now. And it's such a freeing, peaceful, joyful experience that I get to create now, because I was choosing every single day to be miserable. And now I
Mm.
get to choose to live in joy, to live in peace instead of living in chaos. And I use my home as part of that freedom. People can come celebrate, create. It's called Zen Private Paradise. It's like a content house basically, and people can come express who they want to be here. And I've had a lot of great experiences, and we've made a lot of magic in my house over the last few years. So I'm at the point now where I'm trying to grow these two businesses and just help as many people become who they were born to be.
Wow. I love that. It's like you practiced that. That was amazing.
No.
That was actually like really impactful. I'm over here like writing notes like, okay, okay. So yeah, I knew I liked you. I knew you were cool. No, I knew a lot of that about you already, but I'm glad we can start to share that with more people. And I want to throw back. Let's get a little wild here all of a sudden, out of the gate. You said something about surface level. Tell me about these underground Las Vegas people, because people don't know that this is a thing. There's a legitimate community of homeless stragglers from all around the world who like end up in Vegas and stay in Vegas, and they live in tunnels. And
Yeah.
this is super off topic from everything you just said, but I just, whatever. I like to be random sometimes, and we'll get back to the meat of it. But have you had experiences with these tunnels?
I have not gone down there. There is a group out here that is called Starlight, and they will go down and make sure people are okay and have supplies. So they do have people out here that volunteer for those kind of experiences. But you can't just go down to the tunnels. You have to be invited down there. They're not safe. I wouldn't recommend, if you're just visiting Vegas, to try to go down to the tunnels, because they have presidents and turf and a whole community down there that is not like it is above ground. And there's no light down there. It is pitch black.
You know, it's crazy. I just watched the new Fantastic Four movie, and again, Marvel, fake, fiction. There's literally a guy called like the Mole King or something, and it's a whole community of people who live under New York City or wherever the show is based. And it's funny because this fiction, I always tell people about this, and they're like, "Stop it! You like Batman too much." I'm like, "No, I swear to God, there's this underground city," and now you've confirmed. So thank you.
Yes.
But that's
It's
crazy
real.
that they have presidents and leadership and like, gangs and well, okay. All that aside, I actually do. I want to go back a little bit. You breezed over this, and I think it's actually really notable to talk about this. A woman serving in the military, gone overseas. That informs a lot of what you've done since then. That informs, I'm sure, maybe some of the addiction. That informs the desire to help people mentally. And so I'd love to know, as much as you want to share. Obviously, I don't want to pry too much if some of this is too private. But how did that time serving your country, going overseas, seeing whatever it is that you saw, how did that inform the decisions moving forward?
I didn't really put those pieces of the puzzle together, that, hey, maybe I'm having some trauma and I'm dealing with it in an improper way, because I've never known how to deal with my emotions properly. My dad was an alcoholic, so what did I do? I went to the alcohol, I went to the drugs. And I didn't realize that maybe these things are making everything worse. Um,
Mm.
but when I was overseas, there was plenty of times I was like, I wish I would just get blown up. I wish I wouldn't come back home. What am I coming back home to? So there was a lot of that. Like, can I just die for the country? Then just have it be over. And then when you come back home, and then you have people that are disrespectful to you, or people that just are very negative themselves, and then they reflect themselves back onto you, you know what I mean? So when you have to deal with confrontation coming home from war, with your family, like that didn't help. So me wanting to get away from all of them was like my ticket out. Like, I thought, ooh, this is it. This is where I can finally be who I want to be. And it's like, well, now I have all this freedom. Nobody's telling me that I shouldn't be doing any of this. So I just went crazy, I went wild with it. and I made some bad decisions. I never got in trouble. That's like the like, I thank God. Like, I never got in trouble for anything I've ever done. I've never done anything that bad, but even like drinking and driving, like I'm so thankful I never got pulled over. Just making bad decisions in my 20s and part of my 30s. Uh, it's just kind of a wake up call. Like, why are you doing these stupid things? How can you help yourself? You know, the VA, I went to the VA so many times. They failed me so many times with mental health services.
Yeah.
I One of the therapists that I had, we almost got into a fist fight. I almost had security called on me, you know, like they don't try to de-escalate any kind of situations. They treat you like you're mentally insane instead of treating you like a cancer patient. That's where I think there's like a big mishap with mental health. Like, treat us like we're sick, not like we're crazy. You know, because when you
Yeah.
treat somebody like they're crazy, they're probably going to start acting crazy.
Yeah. You add fuel to the fire that's already lit, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, it's I'd love to know why, because you have a belief in God, which might inform this as well. But I'd love to know why hypnotherapy, because a lot of people might look at that and think that's weird, it's manipulative, it's super hippy dippy spiritual. It's there's all the I would say it's somewhat taboo still.
Yeah,
And so
absolutely.
but I find it fascinating. I've never personally been part of a session, but I do find it a very fascinating psychological uh, thing that we can even do hypnotherapy. That's fascinating to me. So I'd love to know a little bit about the background leading into that specifically. Like, why not be a therapist? Why a hypnotherapist?
So a few years ago, probably like 6 or 7 years ago, I found this TED Talk called I Am Enough. And Marissa
Mm,
Peer was the speaker for this TED Talk. And she has a form of hypnosis called rapid transformational therapy. Her TED Talk changed my life and my perspective of who I was, and that I actually was enough, and that I should write it on every single mirror in my house. And I followed Marissa for like 5 years, and I kept up with like all of her talks and all the information that she was putting out. And then when I quit my job, I was scrolling through Facebook, and she had an ad for her school that you could learn rapid transformational therapy. And I was like, this is what I'm supposed to do. So with regular talk therapy, it's pretty surface level. You can't consciously tell yourself what is wrong with you. The only way that we
sure.
can really rewire the brain is to go into the subconscious, because the subconscious holds all of our memories. It's the memory
Mm,
vault. So when I would try to consciously talk about my problems, I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't know. You know, it's always that. Like, nobody really wants to go in and think about it. But when you close your eyes and you take yourself back to those places, it's so much easier to pinpoint what the problem really is. And then, because it's neuroplasticity of our brain, once you start telling yourself the right things, guess what? Now these new neural networks are forming. Now, instead of saying, I hate myself, you're saying, I love myself. Now
mm,
it's just easier to rewire. When you get to the root, you can look at the problem, and now you can give it a different belief, right? You've
mm.
carried it for
Wow.
20, 30, 40 years. Like, why are you still carrying it? Let's let it go. And once you let it go, it is so freeing. And you can, I've had watch clients like take this breath of air, and it looked like the first time they've ever breathed in their life. Like, just the exhale and just letting it go. Like, you can see it release from their body. It's really powerful. But you really have to be willing, right? If you're not willing, like, this isn't going to work for you either. So, but it's just powerful, and it's all about repetition. You've been telling yourself for 20 years that I'm not enough. It's going to probably take another 20 years for you to say I'm enough every single day to
Wow.
rewire, right? It's not just going to take one day. You have to do this for a long period of time. I say
Yeah.
21 days minimum to start the rewire. And then it's like you have to continuously do this after the 21 days, because it's
Sure.
all
Well,
about
it's even like
repetition.
going to the gym, right?
Yeah,
Like you could
exactly.
you could eat eat like garbage for 20 years, and then you could go and work out for 2 hours and go all hardcore, but you're probably just going to injure yourself, and then you're going to create. In fact, I always tell people when you go to the gym, especially if you're new, I'm like, actually, you don't want to go for 2 hours the first time. You don't want to overwhelm yourself. You don't. I wouldn't even recommend you get sore. Frankly, I would recommend you go around, look at a few things, maybe do. I would recommend to go with somebody who knows what they're doing, and just do a light. Just get your heart beating, and I don't even want you to feel tired and sore the next day, because then what does that create?
Yeah.
It allows for that desire to keep going. It's like, well, I mean, I feel pretty good today, and I'm happy about myself, and I made a commitment and I followed through. So let me do that again today. Whereas if you do the really crazy, intense, hard workout, and then you're like, that was so much time. I got other things to do. I got to do the dishes. I feel so sore. Is that what it feels like every time? And then now you're creating these negative neural pathways linked to the gym. And now you create even more of a barrier to entry. And so I can imagine if somebody comes in to talk to you and they're like, yeah, they're expecting that they're just going to put 1 4-hour session in with you, and all of a sudden their lifetime of trauma is going to disappear, then they're probably mistaken.
Yes, because there's layers to this. I've had clients like not have their breakthrough until the final week, like our
Mm,
last meeting. And then the light bulb finally went on. Like, now I understand everything you're saying. I was like, it was just in due time. You will take the suggestions in when you're ready.
yeah.
So
And it
you have
requires a
to do.
lifestyle shift, right? Like they have to
Yeah.
be like, and same with the gym, same with all these things. It's not just the activity of going. You need to change your diet. You probably need to change your sleep schedule. You might need to lose a few friends. And I assume that you've probably walked a lot of people through that, right? Like, hey, you actually have to change your environment. You hang out with these people after work, and that triggers XYZ. So you should probably switch some of the activities to help in the rewiring. Is that is that something you've helped guide people on as well?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because that's what I had to do. I had to get rid of everybody in my life. That was one of the hardest things to do. What do you do when you're alone? Who do you have? You don't have anybody. And that's why I'm here for people, because you're not alone anymore. I'm here for you.
Yeah. I love that. That's so it's always more authentic and it feels genuine when you've gone down that road yourself, right? You're not just someone who went to university right after high school, you got your 4-year degree, and now boom, now you're in an office practicing. You went
Right.
and lived life. You saw war. You've experienced addiction personally. You've had family trauma. And then to not claim your victim status, which some would argue you deserve that victim card. But for you to say, I don't want it, and I'm actually a victor, and I want to help others become victorious in their life, not sulk in their victimhood. And by the way, I'm going to give you a little hot take here. This is a general statement. People don't get offended. I think most therapy is bullshit and actually makes the problem worse. I've
100%
been
agree.
to certain I've been to therapy myself for different things. Even when I was getting out of the military, I had some stuff I was working through. I needed to talk to somebody. It was very helpful. I'm not talking to them still 7 years later about the same things, reminiscing the things I was upset about, reliving it, making myself cry all over again. I worked through it. I moved on. And I'd love to know your thoughts on this, because my two points. A, I think most therapy is bullshit. B, I think you need a mission and purpose and direction in your life. And when you actually have something to work towards every day, any problems you've had become significantly more tolerable, because now you're not just sitting in this boat of despair. You're actually sailing towards a new destination, moving
Yes.
past the things you've been through while learning the necessary lessons, hopefully, so you can inform those next steps and make appropriate decisions moving forward. And yeah, I'd love to know your take on
No,
what I just said.
I definitely agree with you that most therapy is BS, because it is so surface level. You get the awareness of what your problem is, but now how do you fix it? Right? Healing is war. That's what people don't understand. Healing is literal war. I give you tools to equip yourself for this war, because once you start peeling this onion, all these layers are going to start coming out, and all these things are going to start making sense. Like, oh my gosh, this is what happened to me when I was a child, and now I'm an adult, and all of these things I've let affect me up until this point. So how do I let this go? You have to create a new identity. That's the only way that you can let these things go, in my opinion, because I couldn't let
Yeah.
them go without a new identity. I kept being in that victim mindset, like, poor me, I'm going to blame everybody else. But you know what? I had to take ownership of everything. Everything is my fault. Everything that has happened to me in my life is my fault, and I have to own that.
Mm.
And if people can't do that part of it, like, there's no helping you, because you will never be accountable for anything. So I think that's the first step, being accountable for your life and your choices, and then choosing to do something like hypnosis to rewire your brain to actually make you be the best version of yourself, because that's what we create. It's basically an alter ego. Like, who do you want to be? What do you want your life to look like? Let's create that. And I will make you a personalized recording that you listen to for at least 21 days. And then you can start living that. You can start becoming that. Without you hearing it, how are you going to become it?
So you're saying healing is like ogres, like onions.
Yes.
I don't know if you've ever seen Shrek, but he's
One
like,
of my friends
ogres are
actually
like
made that.
onions.
Yes, made that realization with that same thing.
What do you think? Am I more donkey or am I more Shrek?
Do I have to answer that?
Huh? Okay, moving on. I was actually going to ask you before I just came back. Have you ever read anything by Dr. Caroline Leaf? Like her, I know her main book is like Switch on Your Brain.
No, I have not.
Interesting. Okay, I'll send this to you. I think you're
Yeah.
gonna love this book because it's literally all about neuroplasticity and rewiring the brain. And Dr.
Yeah.
Caroline Leaf is a Christian, so all of the information she gives, that is, it's very heavy kind of science, neurology. Like it's very, even for me sometimes I'm reading it, I'm like, okay, I gotta let me read that chapter again. But to hear it from a Christian worldview, from a God fearing worldview, not just a pure secular scientific, worldview, I find that fascinating because a lot of times growing up, I don't know, did you have faith growing up as a kid, or did you kind of find that more later in life?
We were made to go to church when I was like 9 years old, and then I questioned everything. I was like, how do you
Sure.
know it's real?
Okay, so
I
then,
was one of
and the
those
reason,
kids.
yeah, that's fair. And the reason I ask is because I always found growing up, it was the science stuff is that's its own category. The Jesus stuff, the Bible stuff, that's its own category. And a lot of times we think, and actually, funny enough, I'm about to post a video right now, which when this podcast comes out, it'll be a few days ago. But I'm posting a funny video about literally this topic. How people think, yeah, the Bible and science, they're not joined, they're not the same. And it's like, I'm gonna mess this up, but it's like the Bible tells us what's happened and how to live. Science tells us how things happen. So it's not even in the same vein of discussion. The Bible is not the antithesis of science, nor the other way around. Or I should even just say religion in general. I think there are probably some religions that have blatantly false things that are provably false, whether it's historically or otherwise. But anyways, but I'd love if you want to chat for a second. I don't know how deep you want to get on faith and all these topics, but I mean, get as deep as you want. But how has your belief in God, I don't know if you consider yourself like a Christian or if you're more spiritual, but how has your faith in God, your spirituality, how has that informed your medical practice now and your desire to help people? And are they integrated, or do you keep it pretty separate?
So when I got sober 2.5 years ago, I found AA. And the only way I could stay sober is to give all of my problems to God. And that's where I really found my spiritual connection to God. I would say I'm more spiritual. I don't want to claim a religion because a lot of them seem very culty. If I would be anything, it would be like Buddhist or something along those lines. But I'm not going to claim a religion. I was baptized Lutheran. So, like, what does that all mean? I don't know. God is just one. So we are all just praying to the same thing, right? Um, but I have a connection to God now because of my sobriety, because I was able to give my suffering back to Him, right? God suffered for us, and now we're all here on God's green earth suffering when we're not supposed to be. So that was my Hail Mary moment, rock bottom. They say when you get on your knees and pray, like, that's it. That's when you find God. And man, he's been in my life my whole life because he saved me from so many things. I just didn't appreciate it then like I do right
Right.
now. Um, but I don't try to mix it in with hypnosis. I do like reference God, or I'll say whoever you want to call your higher power, but I don't force people to like pick whatever it's up to them if they want that.
Sure. Yeah, totally fair. And it's funny. You reminded me when it comes to making the bad choices and God, saving you from certain things where you probably should have had more consequences. I heard this expression. We should all be, or no, hold on. Let me say it right. It's, what is the difference between a criminal and most people? And the only difference is the criminals got caught.
Yeah. Right.
And obviously there's varying degrees of criminality and of evil, of course. But everyone's jaywalked, everyone's sped, well, I shouldn't say everyone. A lot of people have maybe had one too many drinks in their system, or they've whatever, right? So there's many things. Anyone listening to this, if you've never committed a single crime in your life, I mean, God bless you, I guess. Can I tell you? Or actually, I want to ask you. I want you to assess me for a second.
Okay.
Okay, this is a multi-part question here. Do you think I've ever stolen anything in my life?
Yes.
Okay, the answer is yes. But
Do it.
I want you to guess. Is it $0 to $10, 10 to 100, 100 to like what range? How much of a criminal do you think I am?
Probably 0 to 10. You probably stole like a piece of candy or something.
So can I tell you, I went to a hardware store, and those compressed air cans that you just stick the little straw into it and you go pss, pss. My compressed air can at home, I lost the straw for it. And I was a kid. I didn't have extra money to spend. So I went to this store called Canadian Tire. It's like Home Depot, but less building your house, more just, it's like Walmart meets Home Depot is kind of what that store is. And I literally took one of the compressed air bottles and I like hit it and I pulled the little straw out and I put it in my pocket. And I put the bottle back. I wasn't trying to steal a full bottle, but I felt so bad for stealing this little tiny straw.
That's hilarious.
So that's my criminal record. That's my rap sheet. If the cops want to come after me right now, you got my address. So no, thankfully, yeah, I've never been a kleptomaniac. I've had my vices in other areas, but not thievery, thankfully.
Yeah, I don't like stealing. I'm not a thief. I'm too honest.
Yeah, that's good. Honesty is key, I think, too, especially working with people. You work in a very intimate manner with a lot of people where I assume like they need to be able to trust you, especially to work with you longer term. Do you actually, I'd love to know, have you put a lot of intentional, purposeful work into yourself to become a trustworthy person? Or do you feel like it's kind of naturally how you've evolved because of your experiences? Or both?
I think it's more natural. I've always had this energy about me that I've just always drawn people towards me. I get strangers that will come up to me and just tell me their whole life story. Or I'll meet somebody and they're like, oh, you're just so easy to talk to. Like, I've never told anybody this before, but I'm like really comfortable telling it to you. So I really think it is an aura. Like, I have the healing energy. Like, people know I'm safe. And I embody that because I'm here to help people. I'm not here to sabotage you. I've already sabotaged myself. So I don't want to do that to anybody else. I know what that feels like. And I know what it feels like to be taken advantage of by people because that's happened to me my whole life. So I don't want anybody to ever feel like that. I create a very safe environment. I make sure we have a phone call before I even set up a session just to make sure that we are a good fit because I'm not for everybody. I'm a little more of a savage healer. I'm not going to sugarcoat your healing. I'm going to tell you directly what is going on. I will tell you you're not a victim. I'm not here to sugarcoat and make you like your feelings matter to a point, but we have to get over, I don't feel good today, so I'm not going to live my life. You have to get over that because like it doesn't matter how I feel now. I still get my work done. Kind of thing.
Yeah. I love that. I think you and I are very similar in that sense. I think some people probably call it like we're empaths or we're, biblically it would be called the gift of discernment is one of those things. The ability to discern spirits and to discern, essentially that's the biblical way of saying discerning energy, or like, figuring out vibes and stuff like that, whatever words people want to use nowadays. But that's it. I truly believe it's a spiritual gift you have, and I think we both share that. And I think, yes, you could definitely work intentionally on these things, but a person who's not blessed with that natural gifting can never be, well, it's like anything, really, right? I could train as hard as I want. I will never beat Usain Bolt in a race, because not only does he have natural gifting and he has physicality that's conducive to being a good runner, but he also trains so hard. So if you ever take work ethic plus talent, it'll beat everything. However, a lot of times work ethic versus just talent can very often beat talent, but talent plus work ethic beats everything, right? And so sometimes we think about these things in relation to sports, but I think it's in relation to everything in our lives. You have a natural gifting and a talent. So the more you work towards it, the more you put effort and time and energy into honing and crafting that gift, I think you're not just going to be a local Vegas hypnotherapist. I think you're going to change not hundreds of lives, but maybe millions of lives. And that's,
the goal.
when people find their gifting and they really find that, they find where that path really is. There's a guy I read. Oh, my watch is talking to me. She's trying to tell you what she found now. Shh, calm down. There's a book I read years ago. I forget the name. Maybe his Millionaire Success Habits, I think it was called, by Dean Graziosi. And he talks about how successful people, no, sorry, let me rephrase this. He says average people spend most of their life trying to become good at things they suck at. Successful people find out what they're naturally good at and become excellent at it. Then they make enough money to be able to pay people to do the things they're not good at. So in other words, find your gifting, find your calling, find those things that innately you thrive in and become excellent at those, because I do believe we all have giftings. And when we fight against it, I think it leads to chaos, because there's a lot of conflict inside. Actually, I'd love to know your thoughts on that, in terms of maybe even helping people come through their trauma, but then find the next step. Have you helped, and do you help people kind of figure out what that calling is in their life?
I could definitely help people. I've had a few friends that aren't doing well with these kinds of things. So a lot of parents put so much pressure on their kids to be a doctor, a lawyer, in finance, or whatever. So when you grow up in a family that just pushes you to be something you've never wanted to be, and then you become that and you just are miserable, it's really hard to shift to what you really want, because you've been doing so many things that you hate your entire life. So I like to tell people, go back to when you were like 7 to 14 years old, and what did you actually enjoy doing? What did you like? So you can like go from when you were a kid, like what did you want to be when you were a kid before everybody told you what you should be? And then you can kind of go from there. I I wanted to be a model when I was younger. That was my biggest dream in the world. And then I started modeling and doing stuff with acting, and I really loved that. And then it got to a point where I was like, this just isn't fulfilling my soul. Like the hypnosis is where I'm supposed to be. This is what I'm supposed to do. So now let me help people that are like me, who are creatives. So that kind of just pushed me into where I'm at right now. Right? Because I did the thing that I wanted to be, and then it brought me to this where I'm at today. So I think you should definitely think back to when you were small. What did you want? And then go after that.
I love that. And, they say success is when preparedness and opportunity meet. And I think of it like, even though if someone were to just hear that part of your story, I was a model and now I'm a hypnotherapist, they'd be like, oh, this girl doesn't know what she wants. She's all over the place or whatever. But that's not true at all, because everything you learned from your past life, the military, the modeling, it informs your life. It informs the way you think through a certain lens because of your experiences. So now as you're developing and you're realizing, what gives me joy, and where is that natural gifting, and how can I, and ultimately I think our natural giftings will always be geared towards serving other people. So if someone is like, well, I'm trying to figure out what I want to do, me, I, and when the verbiage towards figuring it out is all self-centered, you will never find it. When the verbiage starts to become, it gives me joy when others XYZ. I actually, the best thing about my day was when so and so smiled, or when so and so had that. When you were talking about earlier, how the clients they'll have that breath, and it's like it's the first breath that like that's that's how I can tell you've started to move into your calling, because your verbiage, the way you talk about it, is client focused. It's helping other people focused. And even if you have a job that, like, I'm trying to think of, even if you work in IT, is it about you going to the job, doing the technical stuff, or is your verbiage focused on, I'm so excited to be able to help people solve their problems. It gives me so much joy when a granny calls in and she's like, thank you so much. I would have never figured this out by myself. What is it about the thing that gives you the joy? Is it just the act of doing it, or is it what happens when you really serve people in doing it? I just broke my chair here.
It's the freedom. Like when you can being able to help somebody wake up their consciousness and see that freedom in their eyes, that spark in their eyes again, like their soul has finally woken up. That's why I do this. I
Yeah.
want to see people's eyes change.
Yeah.
That gives me so much love and hope in my heart that this is actually working. And it's not that difficult. Healing is a war, like I said, but if you are ready to do the work and you do it every single day, if you can't take 20 minutes out of your day to do this for yourself, like nothing's going to really help you ever, right? So it kind of just comes back to perspective. How do you change the perspective about all of these things in your life to make them more positive? To say, yes, I love helping old ladies. Yes, like the IT guy. Like if people actually looked at their jobs like that, they would be way happier.
Yeah. Isn't it ironic that you will find your fulfillment more when you take your eyes off yourself and put them onto other people, right? So in a way, it's almost like cyclical selfish. It's not selfish, but it's like, it's just this idea that if you truly want happiness, you have to stop looking for it.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
And I'm a selfless person. Just joining the military is selfless. Like
Yeah.
this has been instilled in me to be selfless and to help others. I will take a bullet for anybody. Like my life isn't as important as everybody else's, and I will tell people that. Like you are the most important person. I'm not. You are. My clients are the most important. I set these people up for success. There's no, I will not let people fail. If you fail, it's because you just didn't do what I told you to do. And I can't help people that don't want to take suggestions or be accountable for themselves. Because that's what it really comes down to. The accountability and doing the work, doing the reps every single day.
Sure. At the same time, though, and I'll push back a little bit on this, because, and I think I know what you mean, but we also need to make sure that as these people who are always helping and giving and whatnot, it is the oxygen mask in the airplane analogy, right? Where you do need to be able to take time to take care of yourself, and even though, and I disagree, I think you're very important. I think you're a very.
Oh, I know I'm important, but my clients are more important than me.
I know. I know. You're saying it from a heart of service, and because you care. I know. And that's why I'm only pushing back. It's just on the way you said it, because I want to make sure that you realize you are very important, and you obviously need to take care of yourself if you want to continue to take care of others, right? And
absolutely.
And I'm sure they would all say that you're very important as well. But I think in my biblical verbiage, I would say you are fearfully and wonderfully made. And in the expanse of the entire universe, God knows your name, and he handcrafted you in your mother's womb. And I think how much more special can we be, that even if you have no friends at the moment, we'll all have friends at some point. But even if you feel lonely, even if you feel, yeah, you got me.
I got you.
Even if you feel lonely, even if you feel, I'm heartbroken, I'm whatever, like the God of the universe knows your name, and he loves you. And I find that, for me at least, personally, I just have to remember, like, even if I don't have anybody else where I feel the love is coming in, I'm still known and I'm still loved, and I will never be completely alone. And that, just having that as a baseline, like, no matter how bad life is, I won't go below that. I will never go below I'm loved and I'm known. That's a pretty cool baseline to have,
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
I'm a multidimensional being. I'm not just one thing. I can't be put in a box, Like, I don't think anybody should be put in a box. Like, we are all multidimensional. I'm not just good at one thing. I'm good at so many things. And I think that's a blessing, Being a jack of all
Yeah.
trades is a blessing.
Yeah.
I wish I could have just focused on one, but my brain doesn't work like that. I need a million things going on at once.
That's so funny. You and I I'm realizing we're more similar than I thought initially. I
Yeah.
always, I was always envious. I was envious of the kid who could just absolutely shred these guitar solos that I was like, why can't I do this? But then, I only practice for 30 minutes a day, and then I want to go play soccer. And then I also want to go to my basketball team. And then I also play piano. And then I also want to go throw a football. And I also want to go. Well, no
You're
wonder
high
I'm not like this
functioning.
kid. Yeah, all that kid does for 3 hours a day is, besides school, he just shreds and practices, and he goes till his fingers bleed. And it's like, well, you're not going to compete with that if you're putting 30 minutes a day or 15 minutes a day or whatever. And I realized early on, I may never be a savant at guitar or piano or any particular thing. And I got to a point where I had to decide, actually. I had to consciously decide, am I okay with that? Like, am I okay, I guess, to use your word, being multidimensional rather than very solo focused? And I thought, you know what? I think I am. There's nothing that I could ever, even my favorite thing that I love doing, I don't want to do it every day. I would get bored.
No.
But yeah, I think there's a lot of people get bored quick, but then there's also the high performers, like I would say you and I, who we're good at a lot of things, but we still need to be careful where we put our energy, because I don't know about you, I can get distracted very easily because I like
Yes.
so many things.
Yes, absolutely. I have to have a checklist and I have to have my day set up or I will stray.
Yeah. And you know what I think is also a really good read, a good resource for both of us and for anybody listening. If you've ever heard of Jocko Willink, he has a book called Extreme Ownership. Him and his business partner Leif Babin. These guys were ex Navy SEALs, and I think Jocko was even like, no, I don't. He wasn't an instructor, I don't think, but he was a commanding officer. He was in charge of a lot of men doing a lot of intense things. The book, have you read it before? Extreme Ownership.
I'm not. I've heard of it though.
So the way the book is structured, I like it. I find it very interesting. It's something they learned when they were in Iraq from in the war. That's
Hmm.
the principle that they learned and how they learned it in battle. Then it's the middle part of the chapter will be, discussing that principle in general, and then the end of the chapter is how it applies into business and into life. I think I haven't read it in a while, but I'm pretty sure that's the breakdown. There's like 3 parts to each chapter. And I like the audiobook because they actually read it. And these guys talk like this, right? So when we were in Ramadi, Iraq, we were getting good. And it's like, whoa, yeah, cool. Puts you in the mode.
Yeah.
But he has this concept, and he's very known for these gentlemen I work at Brand Alchemy, the initial meeting that you and I had. They talk about Carrie, especially the CEO. Carrie talks about this idea of a niche of one. If you want to be an entrepreneur, you want to be, notable in your space, you need to figure out what your niche of one is. And Jocko, although now he's a consultant for businesses, I wouldn't say he's unique in what he does particularly, but he is unique in his niche of one. He's the extreme ownership guy, just like Simon Sinek is the start with why guy, or Alex Hormozy is the tank top, nasal strip, tell you
Yeah.
like it is, bro guy. Like, it's, everyone has their thing that makes them unique and stand out in a space that's pretty oversaturated, right? And so what Jocko's thing is the extreme ownership. It's everything you were talking about today, which I love this. And it's just this idea of, even if something is actually not your fault, you take ownership over that and say, I may not have caused that directly, but I'm taking responsibility for this. How can I learn? How can I improve? And it's funny, right? Because in a weird way, in almost like a twisted way, when you take ownership over the shit things that happen to you, you actually take power over those things. And you say, now I'm in control. I will dictate the next steps moving forward. And obviously, I live in reality. I know that I can't actually dictate how everything in the world works. Some things just happen, some natural disasters or this, that, or the other. But the more responsibility I can take over as many things as I can gives me power to move forward in those steps and not be a victim, but always be a learner and always be a victor. And I love that you touched on that, because I believe in that concept heavily, even though it's easier said than done a lot of times.
Yeah, for sure.
So Do you find
hard to
you
take
offend a
accountability.
lot of patients with that kind of mindset, or do you find you're actually attracting exactly who you need to attract because you have it?
I'm attracting the exact high functioning people understand me, and I just feel like I'm more connected to high functioning people. If I'm offending you, then you're not my patient. You shouldn't come talk to me because you probably won't like what I have to say.
Yeah. I
But the truth hurts. People don't want to take in the truth. So when you tell somebody the truth and they can't handle it, like, that's on you, not
yeah.
me.
And ultimately, you're showing love and compassion by being truthful. And obviously, we can be tactful in the way we do that, right? You don't have to be like a whatever. Some of these influencers who just scream at you, sometimes there's some people who might need that at a certain time and place, but obviously real relationships are nuanced. Posting a YouTube video is one thing, but having real intimate relationships is nuanced. And so
Yeah.
learning to be truthful, but also navigating that relationship and navigating that person's emotions, it's never loving to be misleading. It's never loving to give into delusion. If I'm schizophrenic and you affirm my delusions, that's not loving. That's maybe you just don't know how to deal with me. I had a cousin, God rest his soul, he passed away, and he from I believe an overdose, and he was schizophrenic, and he, affirming the things he was seeing and believing, and that wasn't loving to him. And so a lot of these people nowadays, they are delusional, whether it's gender delusions, whether it's uh, lifestyle delusions, I don't know what. But we're in this weird space where we affirm people's delusions, which only makes them grow, which ultimately harms the person. So I don't know if you have thoughts on that, but for the last couple minutes here, talk about delusional people.
Delusional people. I live in the real world. I actually joined the real world, Andrew Tate School. So I like to live
Oh
in the
yeah.
real world. Yeah, I haven't had to deal with any patients that had any of those issues. I don't even think I would want to work with somebody that's schizophrenic because it just doesn't seem like it would fit, you know, what I can do for them. I can't work with anybody that is epileptic either. So if you
Hmm.
can't go into
Interesting.
hypnosis if you're epileptic.
Hmm. Why is that?
Um, I don't know if you can go into a seizure and just not come back out. There's scare of that, or it could like just create you to have seizures. It's just not a good idea if you already have um that issue with your brain.
Interesting. So, would you say overall the clientele, like just based on the limitations maybe of the practice, you don't necessarily work with people who have like severe mental issues, just because it's
Yes.
that's its own layer of things to work through?
Yeah. Unless they got like I would probably want to work with their doctor. Like, is this a good idea? If they're okay, if their doctors are okay with that, then sure, we could talk about it. But it would have to definitely go through their primary care, whoever is taking care of them. I don't make those decisions. I am not a doctor. I cannot prescribe you medicine. I don't like medicine. I would prefer you not to be on medicine, but sometimes they help you, and I would never tell anybody to get off of their drugs or do anything abrupt like that because that
Hmm.
is just not okay to do to people.
That's yes, that's very fair. There's unfortunately, I think, almost a stigma around certain holistic medical practices that you're going to tell the patients to get off all their drugs and just go cold turkey, and they're gonna be in more harm because they're listening to some quack that doesn't have a proper medical degree. Or that I feel like this is sometimes the stigma around different kinds of alternative or holistic medical practices. So it's good to hear you say that because I know that's not the case, and I know you're not that kind of person. But
Yeah.
sometimes, yeah, I mean, we got so many generations out there that have grown up with certain beliefs or whatever. So it's yeah.
I was on medication. I was on Zoloft, and that stuff made me go insane. I
Mm,
was so crazy when I was on that, and then I stopped taking it. I was getting mini seizures in my body from the withdrawal.
wow.
It was scary. Like I was getting like shocks throughout my whole body, and I was going crazy. Like, I want to die. Why am I here? Like, that induced my suicidal thoughts more than anything. more than the drugs, more than the alcohol. Zoloft was not my friend. But thankfully I'm not on that kind of stuff anymore.
Yeah.
I've reworked my brain.
Yeah. I mean, I always say, you know, my mom's a pharmacist. I always say I'm grateful for 21st century pharmaceuticals and the medical industry in general. However, I never want to have to rely on it to get by in my day to day as much as I can. I try to avoid pharmaceuticals. The most I take is typically is Advil, cold, and sinus. Get rid of a
Yeah.
headache because it works so well for me. But anyways, drugs aside, I know we're coming up on the hour now, but I want to end on a really fun kind of encouraging note. So if you want to share, maybe if you, I don't know, if you have maybe a client experience that you had, or maybe it's unrelated to hypnotherapy, but a time in your life where, I'm trying to think of how to word this properly. Something that has given you incredible joy that you want others to experience as well. That's something that maybe someone listening can be inspired and say, like, I want that kind of joy, and I need to make these kind of actions. And based on everything we talked about today, like, if I adopt this kind of a mindset, if I seek, you know, if I go to war for my own healing, and I adopt this extreme ownership mindset, and I take responsibility, you know, what does that lead to? What kind of joy has come in your life because of these things that we've talked about today?
Joy that has come into my life is just my time freedom, my freedom to go to the gym. The gym saved my life. If you want to really improve your life, start moving your body. Move your body every single day. Eat healthy foods. Do not buy anything that is frozen, that you have to put in a microwave. Like, I eat very clean, whole foods. That changed my mind dramatically. Like, brain fog went away when I
Mm.
started changing my diet. But other things that I do for like my own personal healing, I go to sound healing meditations. I do Native American sweat lodges. Like, there's so many different avenues that you could go down through healing. Like, there's so many different things that you can do, because I feel like healing is, it's not like a linear line, right? Like, you're going to be good now, but tomorrow you might go down a little bit, and then the next day. So it's like you can't predict the future with your healing. You don't know how you're going to react to certain situations, but it's kind of like just getting the awareness. Like, if I reacted crazy the last time, maybe this time I can try to not be crazy. So just kind of putting like those, like, let's see how I can evolve with my reactions. Because the military, all I learned how to do was react. I didn't think. Like,
Mm.
learning how to think again was very tough, instead of just reacting emotionally to everything that was done to me. So that's been a hard thing too, like not reacting. How do you not react? Let's train your brain to do that. So, but just the reps, just doing the things that you say you're going to do. Keep your word to yourself. That is the biggest thing. You say you're going to
Mm.
do something, actually do it.
Yes. That's I just posted a video on that like last week. That's exactly we're on the same page. Rachel, it's been so good talking to you. We got to do this again because clearly there's a lot to unpack here. A lot
Yeah.
more we can get into. But I'm very grateful that you wanted to chat and get on here, and I'm glad we're friends. Your background is awesome. Your future is very bright. I'm excited to even grow together in a few different areas, and I'm excited to watch your journey and just be your friend along the way. So thank you for talking to me
Thank you
today.
for being my friend. I appreciate you for even allowing me on your podcast. I appreciate your friendship, and I'm glad we connected. Those DM outreaches, they work. Do them.
Just don't be a creep. Like, don't be weird. I didn't say weird things to
Yeah.
her. Like
No, you even said you don't have to reply, and I'm like, he seems pretty cool. Let me see who this guy is.
yeah, I feel like someone's gonna hear what you just said and be like, oh, I'm gonna go DM her or DM some girl. I'm like, well, hold on. I did it. It was professional. It was
Professional.
okay. Anyways, that's for the next time. Yeah. Okay. Well,
All right,
anyways,
Josh.
have a great rest of your
Thank
day.
you.
We'll talk soon. And I need to come up with an outro. Maybe like a until next time. Oh, really quick. Tell everyone what's the best way to find you. I'll link it in the video. But what's the best way for people to follow you, to support you or work with you?
I'm on Instagram, Rachel Veronica, Born for This Hypnosis, Zen Private Paradise. You can go to my website, rachelveronica.com. For my house rental, I'm on Peerspace and Gigster. So those are all the places that I'm at.
Nice. Awesome. I'll link everything appropriate in the video. It'll be boom here, boom
Thank
here,
you.
boom here. No, I'm not going to do that because that's too much work for myself. I'm not going to put it where my fingers were.
You
But
just put my Instagram. My Rachel Veronica, my Instagram has everything on it that you need.
sounds great. Awesome. Well, I'll talk to you soon and have a great rest of your day. And to everyone who's watching, insert outro here.